beauty of having, let me say, a smaller event is that you really get to network and can really benefit from the time to meet the founders that will share their stories here today, but also everybody else who's in the room will use this time to mingle.
I basically re-engineered soil-less farming systems so that they don't run on electricity 24/7.
My experience at the program was a very pleasant one, I'll say.
In fact, I think that animation has a lot of potential in terms of generating jobs in Nigeria and even emerging economies.
So one of the biggest struggles we've had is finding talent, especially engineering talent.
I really enjoyed Founders Fridays. I think one of the things that really frustrate me at the moment is that there's just too much talk about the glory of the startup journey rather than also talking about the challenges, things that you need to do, hindsight 2020, all these other things that are very crucial. We're talking just about glory, fundraising and this and that. So I really think having these kind of Founders Fridays where you can actually also hear people's stories and how they overcame these difficult challenges is actually more encouraging to entrepreneurs than just reading, oh, these guys just raised $50 million, right? I took a keen interest in soil-less farming, specifically aeroponics, hydroponics. And within aeroponics, I basically re-engineered soil-less farming systems so that they don't run on electricity 24/7, which is usual for soil-less farming systems. You need a lot of power to run them. And I'm like, you can't have a great farming solution and then say you need 24 hours light to run it. It's called a work. It's not going to work in Nigeria. So it's not a solution, it's a problem. So so I figured out a way to kind of take it off the power grid and run it on like 2 hours of electricity in a 24-hour window. We've basically been in research and development for about 4.5 years, which could have been a year. But challenges, a lot of challenges, everything from funding, technical support, a lot of trial and error. But we're here and somehow we're still here and we're about to launch our product in the market hopefully by next year. I don't think there was ever a time where I predicted that I would go into agriculture. That was never any plan. I grew up in gardens, my family, my mom here we're big gardens, but I think there was a part of me that always was fascinated by growing plants. But I think the biggest thing was really being able to grow them soilless is super cool and super sexy. It's just so hot. And when I started doing it, I just fell in love with it. So it was never really a plan. I didn't know I was going to go into agriculture, but I have no regrets. And I would do this literally for the next 40 years, happily.
My experience at the program was a very pleasant one, I'll say. From the panelists or the speakers coming in and giving very honest and candid experiences, telling their stories, not even just from the I've made it point of view, but the things they had to go through and the things that they had to struggle with at different points in their career. So that, helped put a different perspective on the stories you hear, because usually you just hear of the big breaks, the big funding opportunities and access that people get. But it was very nice to hear honest opinions, honest experiences.
And the person that I borrowed the 10 million from is actually a friend. I mean, he's a rich person, but he's a friend. And he now, because I told him I just need it for a week. Once I sorted out the convertible debt, I'll just give it back to you, right? So then he's now thinking I've taken advantage of him. He's like, I'm getting all these messages. I mean, and now what I need you to understand is this went on for like 4 or 5 months of just hell. Like literal hell. So I'm becoming sick. I was in the hospital. It was bad. It was really, really bad, right? And this was the moment where I was like, you know what? Either I just call it, because like, what do you want me to do, right? Now, I could now tell you the story of how we came out of it, and not even like out of it, but we're so far on the other side, it's crazy. We got a grant and an investment from Germany, mind you, which we just finalized. Well, it will be official next week from Germany, mind you. And by the way, that company I contacted on LinkedIn. Yes. So that's a whole nother story again, right? So we came out of it, and not just that, but a mentor of mine even gave me the money to pay the debt to all, like, when you're just like, why am I receiving all these blessings? What's happening, right? We're just so used to suffering. So then you're like, why is everything working right now? What's happening to, so yeah, this is probably the worst experience have I gone through, and I've not even gone into details, but yeah, that's like darkness. You don't even see, there's no way you can see that could possibly come out of this alive, like possibly.
Well, of course, I think this is a very good event packaged by 989 and the German Nigerian Business Forum. I think the next one will pull more people. It was simple, and I loved the way it was kind of like a friendly social atmosphere, so everybody was relaxed, and these entrepreneurs weren't presented in a way they were high and mighty, so it was just a simple thing. And sometimes what you need to pick on your dream is just realize it's within your grasp.
Sometime this year, we put our hand into production to see if we can produce in Nigeria with our local materials, and that was a disaster. Right? That's what, because the plan was to produce locally and try to reduce costs and sell to our people, but the raw materials there was far expensive. The machineries was far too expensive, and I think I kind of escaped something because we almost took a loan to start up the factory, right? But at some point in my head, while I was just sitting at my quiet space, something came to me and said, "Hey, you can't use a loan to test a hypothesis, right?" So, so I just had to call my team and just say we can use a certain amount of our profit to test this thing. And thank God we use that amount and not use the loan to test something that should have failed. And assuming we took that loan to do that thing, I'm not
where I was.
Yeah, and that was a big lesson. Don't use money that is not yours to try out something you're not sure about. And I'm really grateful I did not make that mistake.
So one of the biggest struggles we've had is finding talent, especially engineering talent. And that has been a big struggle. I mean, this week I finally found a talent, and he resumes on Wednesday, does a full day, collects his laptop, sets up everything, and he's like, "Excuse me, ma, I want to talk to you." I'm like, "Yes." It's like, "And the company I was leaving, they said, they didn't accept my resignation letter, so I'm still..." "You're still what?" "You're still working there?" So, I was like, you realize this is a full-time job and you can't be doing 2 full-time jobs at the same time. It's like, yes, it's not like I won't be working, but they accepted my letter late. So I was just like, you know what, just go finish off with that. And when you're done with that, you can come back.
I had a great time because personally this year it's been really hard for me in my business but I just leave the word consistency in front, and getting to hear these people talk really inspired me that people doing well in businesses at the moment, they actually have gone through this whole downfall where this flop that things are not going well, but you just still have to stay strong basically. So it really helped me to know that failing a little is not bad, it's good. I just have to keep going. So I had a very great time learning from their experiences.
So I incorporated the admission company at this point in time as a company on its own. And then I went to Ibadan to get rights to an IP to produce the passport of Madam Ilya. We got that IP and we started looking for money. At first, that was when I started hitting again yet another entrepreneurial crisis. The IP, we realized to produce this film was going to cost a lot of money. It's the most expensive film in Nigeria because animation costs money, right? Trust me, we had done a lot of work before we started realizing that the money wasn't going to come that easily. We thought investors would smile at you. Animation needs patient capital and talent. We had neither, right? So we're facing a crisis on the other hand. So what we decided to do was get a consultant. They structured like an SPV. We created non-convertible notes. Somebody will say, no, it has to be convertible. And I'm as artists as they come. I don't do numbers. That's what I used to tell myself. But that's changing. Now having to look at the numbers, like, okay, this is the partial capital. It is this. I'm now having to learn that, right? And just so I can convince people. And thankfully, we got quite a number of backers who came on board. As of today, the studio has actually, we are probably the only studio with a story department, right? quite a sizable number of people now. We have running on about 3 projects running, and we're still doing a lot more. In fact, I think that animation has a lot of potential in terms of generating jobs in Nigeria and even emerging economies. One is hugely people dependent. It is one aspect of technology that is not losing jobs but creating jobs. So for a film I'm doing, I need about 50 animators. Maybe I have 25. I have 25 to go, and no university offers animation, so we had to become a training school. And you have to train. Sometimes after training for 6 months, their mother will call them that they should come and be drawing, or their father will tell you you're wasting their time. So you have attrition, right, over time. But you just keep going, just keep going. But I've been so blessed to have my studio is like an extended family. We have very close knitted friendship and working relationship. It's not that much of a hustle for us. We're really coming into the context of knowing that we want to tell African stories. No animation film today has made a loss. And no African studio has been able to put an animation film in the global map, apart from South Africa, as they did 2, 2012 and 2018 and 13. They both grossed about $86 million. That is, one animation film can dwarf 20 films from Nigeria. A film can gross way more, but we don't have the capacity, as our lack of patience and to grow people. Nigerians would rather poach than train. And that's one of the challenges you would have in the industry, because you train all the guys. One day somebody will just come and say, double, guys, the future is here. So at the end of the day, employers don't want to take the risks to train. CBN called us that they had a loan. We showed up at CBN, and then just when the loan was going to process, said they needed collateral. I was like, are you collateral? Our IP will be collateral. I said, no, IP, Nigerian law does not recognize IP as collateral. You have to collateralize it, right? So that hit a roadblock. We went to another IBOI. IBOI told us we need to have bond with a bank. So if we're looking for 200 million naira, we must have 200 million naira bond. So the bond, they said you will get, whether it's bank guarantee. So it just seemed to me, so I need the money, I now have the money, I now come and take the money. I don't understand, But whatever the case, access to capital has been a major challenge for us. But I am very positive, because this year alone has been significant for us. We turned 5 as a studio. So clap to that, guys. 5.
My name is Kadurum Vankiruka. I own a business. I'm into perfumes and perfume oil. I learned about this event from my friend. So she was actually invited, and I decided to just follow and see, I actually enjoyed the event. It was nice getting to meet other people, then listen to young entrepreneurs and, the pitch and all. Yeah, it was nice, and it was educating, interesting, it was interactive and informative. Yeah, it was really nice. I enjoyed it.
The second part is a pitch competition for the Startup Germany tour. So what will happen, there will be 3 startups that will join us virtually. They will all have a short pitch between 3 to 5 minutes, and then basically we'll decide who want to represent Nigeria in the contest. We'll start with Adetola. He is from errand360.ng, so logistics mobility sector. Then we have Cole Presley. He is from EcoCap, so also logistics mobility. And then number 3, we have Chibuna Smart City Energy from Kiru Energy. So we just start, as I mentioned, number 1, Adetola, number 2, Cole, and then last but not least, Chibuna. So Adetola, if you're ready, the floor is yours.
So I'll quickly tell you about Errand360. Errand360 is an eco-friendly community logistic system. We make use of bicycles for delivery within the community.
Also, we're evolving quickly into a multi-service application, basically being an everyday everything app for basic needs, and that means that we are rapidly adding verticals from fintech to insurtech to bus transit to underutilized infrastructures like water ferries and things like deliveries and logistics as well.
The market opportunity that we see is that over $60 billion can be realized by the solar mini-grids market in sub-Saharan Africa, and in Nigeria we can realize about $8 billion per year. as at today. And then for our serviceable obtainable market, we have over 400 million per year at 5% of that 8 billion. And by 2030, it is projected to get up to 1 billion per year. And this is a very huge market opportunity.
I mean, I would say that the pitch part was very interesting. It's very tough for the startups to pitch virtually in a very short time. And there were definitely interesting ideas and business models. But we have to take into consideration that these are early stage startups. And I think in terms of would I invest in any of them, I think I would still need to know more, especially about the founders, the team, their motivations, ambitions, not just about the business model that they have. But as the startup goes further in the startup Germany tour and we work further with them, we will also do programs to train them on pitching the business and really communicate their core insights and their unique offerings that they have towards investors and other audiences.
For the pitch side of things, it was a very interesting one. Hearing different solutions people are having for the Nigerian economy, the Nigerian business space, especially in the present climate. The Nigerian economy is a very volatile one. Things are always happening, things are always changing. So it's always interesting to see what people are doing, how people are pitching, the different things they can change in the way they pitch, or different things they can learn in what to add, what to remove from their businesses. So that's always a nice thing. And also, even after the formalities, meeting these founders, meeting the entrepreneurs, and even meeting the other attendees that were founders and entrepreneurs in their own right, it was a very nice thing, a nice opportunity to have.
Having three people go against each other for a prize, being judged by the exact people that, of course, were also startups who were getting to learn from experiences from their mentors in the program. I just felt it was amazingly unique and interesting.
I'm going to come for the next one, and I advise everybody to come because, sincerely, I was at the point of almost giving up, and knowing that people actually fail and they still get to the top is a great one, and I'm not going to stop to